Dr. Sarah Chen's eyes never left the monitor as she watched the anomalous readings intensify. The massive object had appeared seemingly out of nowhere, defying every known law of physics. Its sudden materialization at the edge of the solar system had triggered every deep space monitoring system, from Earth to Pluto. "Someone get me verification on these numbers," she called out to her team at the Mauna Kea Observatory. The atmosphere in the control room crackled with tension as dozens of the world's best astronomers and physicists worked to understand what they were seeing. The object's surface seemed to shift and change, refracting sunlight in impossible patterns. Initial calculations suggested it was larger than Earth's moon, yet it moved with precision that defied its massive size. As data poured in from observatories worldwide, Sarah's coffee grew cold beside her keyboard, forgotten in the intensity of the moment. "Dr. Chen," called out her colleague, Dr. James Rodriguez, his voice trembling. "We're detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. The object, it's generating more power than our sun." Before Sarah could respond, every screen in the observatory flickered simultaneously. The interference pattern was deliberate, organized. A message began forming across their displays, written in perfect English. "Greetings, children of Earth. We represent the Galactic Coalition." The message continued scrolling. "Within our vessel are representatives from 317 spacefaring civilizations. We have watched your development with great interest. Your species stands at a crucial threshold." Sarah's hands flew across her keyboard, recording every detail as her mind raced to process the implications. Humanity wasn't alone. Not only that, but they were being observed, evaluated. The next transmission sent chills down her spine. "Your trial begins now." World leaders scrambled to respond as news of the alien arrival spread across the globe. Social media exploded with theories and panic. Religious leaders called for calm, and military forces worldwide went on high alert. Yet the vessel remained stationary, a silent sentinel at the edge of their solar system. 12 hours after first contact, the Coalition sent their second message. They requested a delegation of Earth's finest minds to board their vessel. The selection criteria were specific: specialists in mathematics, physics, philosophy, and notably, art. Sarah found herself among the chosen few. As she boarded the hypersonic transport to the newly established Earth Response Center in Geneva, she couldn't shake the feeling that humanity stood on the brink of either transcendence or extinction. Looking out the aircraft window at the stars above, she noticed something different about them now. They no longer seemed distant and cold, but instead pulsed with possibility and challenge. Whatever trial awaited them would define not just their generation, but the entire human species. The transport banked toward Geneva's lights, and Sarah clutched her tablet containing the initial readings from the alien vessel. Something about the energy patterns nagged at her consciousness, a familiar rhythm she couldn't quite place. As the city grew larger below, she realized humanity's defining moment had arrived. Ready or not, the Geneva Response Center buzzed with nervous energy as Earth's delegates gathered in the holographic chamber. The room itself was a marvel of alien technology, its walls shifting and shimmering to accommodate the various forms of the Coalition representatives. Some appeared as crystalline structures, others as pure energy, and still others defied human comprehension entirely. Dr. Sarah Chen stood among her fellow delegates, her heart pounding as the Coalition's primary speaker materialized in the center of the chamber. The beam's form shifted between states of matter, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "The Nexus Paradox," it began, "has challenged the greatest minds across 37 galaxies for over 100,000 of your Earth years. No species has solved it. Many have broken trying." Holographic displays materialized around the chamber, showing complex mathematical equations that seemed to twist reality itself. Sarah watched as the formulas morphed and evolved, each iteration more complex than the last. "Your species will have one standard month to solve what others could not," the speaker continued. "We provide you access to quantum computers containing the accumulated knowledge of millions of failed attempts." A Regelian representative, its crystalline form catching the light, moved forward. Humans should understand the gravity of this challenge. The last civilization that attempted this, their entire mathematical framework collapsed. They reverted to a pre-industrial state, unable to process the paradox's implications. The quantum computers appeared before them, sleek black cubes that hummed with impossible power. Sarah approached one, her fingers hovering over its surface. The interface adapted to human interaction, displaying the history of attempts in a format they could comprehend. Should you succeed, the speaker's thoughts resonated. Earth will be granted immediate acceptance into the coalition, with all rights and privileges thereof. Failure means isolation. Your species will be quarantined for 10,000 years, denied any contact with galactic civilization. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Dr. Rodriguez, standing beside Sarah, whispered, 10,000 years. That's longer than human civilization has existed. Sarah's attention remained fixed on the quantum computer's display. Something about the failed attempts sparked a notion in her mind. Each civilization had approached the problem with perfect logic, with flawless mathematical precision. Perhaps that was the problem itself. The trial begins now, the speaker announced. You may access any resource within your solar system. Coalition law forbids direct assistance, but you may study the failed attempts of others. As the delegates dispersed to begin their work, Sarah noticed something peculiar about the holographic equations. They seemed to pulse with a rhythm that reminded her of music, of poetry, of things that transcended pure mathematics. The fate of humanity now rested on their ability to solve what countless advanced civilizations could not. 1 month to prove their worth, or face isolation in a universe they now knew was teeming with life. The Nexus paradox awaited, its mysteries ready to either break humanity or elevate them to the stars. Dr. Oleinka Adebayo's Lagos laboratory had become a second home over the past week. Holographic displays filled the air with failed attempts at solving the Nexus paradox, each one representing a civilization's mathematical breaking point. The quantum computer hummed softly in the corner, its black surface reflecting the Nigerian sunrise. Minji, look at this pattern, he said into his video conference screen, where Dr. Park's tired face watched from her soul facility. Every species approached it the same way. Pure logic, perfect symmetry. I see it, Minji replied, her fingers dancing across her own quantum interface. They're all trying to force order onto chaos. It's like they're afraid of the irregularities. Oleinka pulled up the data from a particularly advanced civilization, the Centaurians. Their attempt had lasted 3 years before their entire mathematical framework collapsed. They kept trying to eliminate the variables that didn't fit their equations. But what if those variables are the key? Minji's eyes widened. Like jazz, she said suddenly. The beauty isn't in the perfect notes, but in the improvisation between them. The conventional physics community had already dismissed their approach. The leading Earth universities had teams working on pure mathematical solutions, following the paths of failed alien attempts with more powerful computing. But Oleinka and Minji saw something different in the data, a pattern within the chaos itself. The paradox isn't just mathematics, Oleinka said, marking another irregular pattern in the data. It's a mirror of consciousness. Look how it responds differently to each species that attempts it. It's almost alive. Their unorthodox approach had drawn criticism from colleagues worldwide. Dr. Vitali from MIT had publicly called their method primitive mysticism. But with 3 weeks left before humanity's deadline, traditional approaches were yielding the same results as every other failed civilization. Minji worked through another simulation, incorporating elements that seemed wrong by conventional standards. She added variables based on human emotional states, artistic patterns, even the golden ratio found in nature. The quantum computer processed these irregular inputs differently than the pure mathematical attempts. The coalition species all evolved toward perfect logic, Oleinka observed, watching the patterns shift. But humans, we kept our chaos. We embrace contradiction. What if that's not our weakness, but our strength? The quantum computer suddenly produced a new pattern, something neither of them had seen in any previous attempt. It wasn't a solution yet, but it was different. Beautifully, imperfectly different. We need to go deeper into the chaos, Minji said, her voice gaining excitement. Not try to solve it with pure logic, but understand it through human intuition. As the sun rose higher over Lagos, Olayinka felt a growing certainty. The path to solving the Nexus paradox wouldn't be found in perfect calculations, but in humanity's unique ability to dance between order and chaos. Their perceived primitive nature might just be exactly what was needed to crack a problem that had stumped the galaxy's greatest minds. The quantum computer whirred to life as Olayinka and Minji input their final calculations. 72 hours of continuous work had led to this moment, their unorthodox solution incorporating elements that seemed to violate the very foundations of mathematics. The emotional variables are holding, Minji reported, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. The quantum interface pulsed with patterns that mimicked human brain waves during moments of creativity and inspiration. They had discovered that the Nexus paradox wasn't just a mathematical problem. It was a test of consciousness itself. The solution required elements that seemed wrong: artistic symmetry, emotional resonance, and instinctive leaps that defied logical explanation. Initiating final sequence, Olayinka announced, his fingers trembling as they danced across the interface. The quantum computer began processing in ways never before recorded, its circuits handling both order and chaos simultaneously. The holographic display erupted with patterns that mirrored everything from DNA helices to galaxy formations. The solution wasn't finding order and chaos, it was embracing the perfect balance between the two. Look at this, Minji gasped. The paradox isn't rejecting our human elements. It's harmonizing with them. The quantum computer's processing speed increased exponentially. Previous attempts by other species had tried to force the paradox into logical frameworks, but human consciousness, with its unique blend of reason and intuition, provided something new, a bridge between order and chaos. Warning alerts flashed across screens worldwide as other teams detected the unusual processing patterns. Adebayo, stop this immediately, came Dr. Vitali's voice over the comm. You'll crash the entire system. But Olayinka and Minji watched in awe as their solution continued to evolve. The quantum computer wasn't just processing their input, it was learning from it, adapting to the human way of thinking. We've got harmonic resonance, Minji reported. The paradox is accepting our solution. The final pieces fell into place as their human-inspired approach revealed what countless logical species had missed. The Nexus paradox was never meant to be solved through pure mathematics. It required the ability to embrace contradiction, to find beauty in imperfection, to think in ways that transcended pure logic. The quantum computer's display stabilized, showing a solution that combined mathematical precision with human intuition. They had done it. Humanity had solved what no other species could. Send the solution to the coalition vessel, Olayinka said, his voice barely a whisper. As the data transmitted across space, both scientists knew they had discovered something profound. Humanity's greatest perceived weakness, their messy, emotional, chaotic nature, had proven to be their greatest strength. The coalition's response was immediate. Solution received. Processing. This is unacceptable. The Regelian delegate's crystalline form vibrated with barely contained rage, sending prismatic patterns across the Geneva chamber's walls. These humans used methods that violate every established principle of paradox resolution. Ambassador Chen stood firm before the Coalition Council, her voice steady despite the mounting hostility. We solve your paradox using our own methods. Nowhere in the rules did it specify how we must think. The chamber erupted in overlapping alien languages as more species joined the protest. A gaseous entity from the Andromeda galaxy pulsed angry red patterns. They incorporated emotional variables. They used artistic patterns. This isn't mathematics. It's primitive mysticism. Dr. Oleinka and Dr. Park sat quietly behind the human delegation, watching their work become the center of an interstellar diplomatic crisis. The quantum computer's display still showed their solution, its beautiful blend of chaos and order unwavering despite the controversy. Our methods may seem primitive to you, Ambassador Chen continued, her voice cutting through the chaos. But they worked. The paradox accepted our solution. Our perceived flaws, our emotions, our intuition, our ability to embrace contradiction. These aren't weaknesses. They're tools, just as valid as your pure logic. A Centaurian representative moved forward, its crystalline appendages trembling. When our civilization attempted the paradox, we lost everything. Our mathematical framework collapsed. Are we to believe that these primitives succeeded where we failed? Yes, Chen replied simply. Because we didn't try to force the paradox into a purely logical framework. We understood something you couldn't, that sometimes the path to truth lies through chaos. The primary speaker materialized in the center of the chamber, its form shifting between states. The human solution is unprecedented, but it is valid. Their method of thinking. It paused, as if searching for words. It opens possibilities we had not considered. Then you'll disqualify them, the Rigelian demanded. No, the speaker responded. They will be studied. A murmur rippled through the alien delegates. To be studied by the coalition was either a great honor or a grave concern, often both. Ambassador Chen stood straighter. We came here to be tested, not to be caged and examined. We solve your paradox. We make your challenge. We deserve recognition, not suspicion. The chamber fell silent as her words resonated. The human delegation held their breath, watching their future balance on the edge of acceptance or isolation. In that moment, humanity's chaos faced the galaxy's order, waiting to see which would prevail. The Coalition archives sprawled beneath the surface of Alpha Centauri's third moon, a labyrinth of crystalline data stores containing millions of years of galactic history. Dr. Sarah Chen led the human research team through sections that had been hastily cleared for their access. Look at this, she called to her colleagues, her hand hovering over a particularly ancient data crystal. The Nexus paradox wasn't created by any known species. It predates the coalition itself. The crystal activated, projecting imagery of the paradox's discovery. Civilizations had found it embedded in the fabric of space-time, a mathematical puzzle that seemed to test something deeper than mere computational ability. These are the original research notes, Dr. Rodriguez said, translating another crystal's contents. The paradox was designed to identify species capable of transcendent thought, beings who could bridge the gap between pure logic and something else. More revelations emerged as they delved deeper. Species after species had approached the paradox with increasingly sophisticated technology, each believing their superior logic would succeed where others failed. Each attempt ended in the same way, logical frameworks shattering against the paradox's fundamental truth. The coalition didn't understand their own test, Sarah realized, scanning through millennia of data. They thought they were looking for the most advanced logical minds, but the paradox was searching for something different entirely. The evidence was clear. The paradox had been waiting for a species whose neural architecture allowed for both logical processing and creative leaps. A species that could embrace contradiction, that could think laterally when linear paths failed. Humanity's primitive brain structure, Rodriguez mused, it's actually more advanced in terms of cognitive flexibility. We never evolved past our capacity for illogical thought because we never needed to. The final crystal revealed the paradox's true purpose, to find species capable of advancing galactic civilization beyond pure logic. The coalition's perfect order had led them to a dead end. They needed chaos to evolve. Sarah sent an urgent message to Earth's delegation. The paradox wasn't testing our advancement. It was testing our potential. We passed because we're different, not despite it. As the implications sank in, the research team realized humanity's role in the galaxy had just fundamentally changed. They weren't just new members of an ancient civilization. They were the key to its future. The crystals hummed with ancestral knowledge, waiting for human minds to unlock secrets that logic alone could never grasp. In the Grand Council chamber, thousands of alien representatives sat in profound silence as the truth about the Nexus paradox echoed through their collective consciousness. Humanity's flaws, their dreams, intuition, and ability to embrace contradiction, represented the next step in cosmic evolution. The primary speaker materialized in the chamber center, its form more unstable than usual. For millennia, we believed advancement meant moving toward perfect logic. We were wrong. Dr. Oleinka and Dr. Park stood before the assembly, their solutions still dancing across the quantum displays. The patterns they'd discovered showed how chaos and order could coexist, each strengthening the other. Human consciousness, the speaker continued, maintains a balance we lost eons ago. Their neural pathways preserve both logic and chaos, reason and intuition. This is not primitive, it is profound. Species that had once looked down on Earth now approached the human delegation with new purpose. The Rigelians, their crystal forms humming with excitement, requested human insights into mathematical problems that had plagued them for centuries. A Centaurian mathematician stepped forward, its form shimmering. We see now what we lost in our pursuit of perfect logic. Your species' ability to think beyond established patterns. It changes everything. Ancient galactic mysteries were brought forth, problems that had resisted purely logical solutions for millennia. With each one, human minds found patterns that others had missed, seeing connections that transcended traditional mathematics. The human paradigm must be studied, understood, and preserved, the speaker declared, not as a primitive state to be evolved past, but as a crucial balance we must learn to reclaim. Ambassador Chen addressed the council, her voice strong with newfound confidence. We offer our cooperation freely. Earth stands ready to help the galaxy rediscover what was lost in the pursuit of perfect logic. The council chamber, for the first time in recorded history, erupted in emotional displays from species that had long suppressed such responses. Pure energy beings pulsed with new patterns, crystalline forms displayed colors never before seen. The recognition of humanity's unique value to galactic civilization marked more than just acceptance. It heralded a fundamental shift in the understanding of consciousness itself. In embracing their chaos, humans had shown the galaxy a new path forward. A year after humanity's solution to the Nexus paradox, Earth's first true starship prepared for launch. The vessel, named Chaos Theory, incorporated both human and coalition technology, its design reflecting the perfect balance between order and improvisation. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the Launch Control Center, watching as final preparations were made. The ship's quantum core pulsed with energy patterns inspired by human brainwaves, a technology that had revolutionized space travel across the galaxy. Above her, the night sky looked different now. Every star represented not just possibility, but reality. Worlds where human thinking had begun to transform ancient civilizations. The galaxy was changing, one chaotic solution at a time. Launch sequence initiated, announced Dr. Oleinka, now Earth's chief of interstellar relations. The Chaos Theory's engines hummed to life, combining coalition precision with human intuition in ways that defied traditional physics. In the years since their acceptance, humanity had helped solve dozens of galactic-scale problems. Human artists worked with Rigelian mathematicians, finding patterns in cosmic phenomena that pure logic had missed. Human musicians collaborated with energy beings, their compositions revealing new understandings of quantum mechanics. The Day of Humanity's Solution had become a galactic holiday, celebrated across thousands of worlds. Species that had evolved toward perfect logic now studied human art, emotion, and intuition, seeking to reclaim what they had lost. As the Chaos Theory rose from its launch pad, its hull gleaming in the moonlight, Sarah remembered the Coalition's original message. Your trial begins now. They hadn't realized then that it was also their trial. a test of their ability to recognize that advancement wasn't always linear. The ship accelerated upward, carrying Earth's first official delegation to the Coalition's central worlds. Its crew represented humanity's finest: scientists, artists, philosophers, and dreamers. They carried with them humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy: the power of imperfection. In the end, it wasn't humanity's technology or military might that earned their place among the stars. It was their ability to embrace chaos, to find beauty in imperfection, and to see patterns in madness. As the chaos theory vanished into faster-than-light travel, its quantum wake rippled across space-time, carrying the promise of human chaos to the stars. The day would be remembered not just as humanity's entrance to the galactic stage, but as the moment when the galaxy remembered that sometimes the most primitive path leads to the most profound discoveries. The human paradigm had changed everything, and the stars themselves seemed to shine brighter for it.